If you've been following me for any length of time on my social media, you'll know that I have some contentious feelings towards AI. But is it a good thing, actually? Hello, acolytes, and welcome back to After Plague, and today I am semi-squashing my beef with AI. I've made a few tweets and a few shorts and a few references to the fact that I am not the biggest fan of AI, especially image generation AI. However, I am interested in the ethical applications AI has as a tool for artists to use to benefit their own artwork. So I decided to use the AI that everybody is talking about, ChatGPT, and see how I can try to incorporate it ethically into the creation of my own artwork. So I went to ChatGPT and I started talking to it, asking it for ideas, giving it certain prompts, and seeing what it came back with. And that's when I asked it for some sticker ideas with a Victorian aesthetic. Something that it brought to my attention that I had never really heard of before were vintage botanical illustrations. And when I looked those up, I thought they were really interesting, and I would love to make prints of something like that because it's exactly in the style of art that I like to create. I asked for a little bit more information about Victorian botanical illustrations, and ChatGPT provided. Then I asked what flowers would be good to draw for these illustrations, and it gave me a list. I liked the idea of lilies, and so I asked ChatGPT again what color palette would look nice for a Victorian botanical illustration, and it did give me some ideas of colors and some time period appropriate color palettes as well, which I thought was an excellent resource. So with my prompts from the AI in hand, I decided I was going to do a Victorian botanical style illustration of lilies and use a dustier, more natural color palette, more muted color palette as ChatGPT suggested. As I'm drawing these lilies, I just want to talk a little bit about my feelings towards AI and what I believe the industry is moving towards. Personally, I don't necessarily believe that image generation AI is beneficial right now, especially not to consumers. Firstly, there is the fact that a lot of image generation AIs are trained on stolen artwork. So a lot of the things that they come up with is just slight variations of someone's already existing artwork. I also believe from a consumer perspective that it encourages lazy consumption of artwork. And what I mean by that, you don't have to be an academic to consume art. You don't have to think about it too hard. You don't have to observe all of the symbolism, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to do that. It's not required. You can observe art in any way that suits you personally. However, if you are somebody that's commissioning artwork, sometimes with AI you'll get back a product and you'll say, that's good enough. I'm not sure how I feel about people choosing cheap over good. I understand that essentially it narrows the market and that the cream of the crop will rise to the top. But as a consumer, don't you want the art to look exactly how you want it to look? Why, as a consumer, are you settling for something that's close enough? Why are you settling for something that might not be what you envisioned in your mind because you can't make the tweaks to it that you would want to or that you would get from commissioning an actual artist? It just it encourages lazy consumption, and that's not necessarily something that I believe in personally. But at the same time, I do understand that people want to be creative. They want to have their ideas. They want to show the world, but they don't have the skills or funds to do so. So I can understand from a consumer perspective. I just don't necessarily think that it is the best thing for consumers going forward. Another concern that I tend to have with AI generating images is that it does give consumers a little bit of a skewed perspective on, firstly, how quickly art can be completed. I've spoken about it in shorts before, but there was a book cover competition that I was participating in where you would submit the cover, and then if you won the competition, you got paid by the client. And I read all of the client specifications, exactly what they wanted, and I was illustrating a cover by hand, sort of a vintage retro future style poster for this book cover. I'll put it up on screen now, just so you can see it. And a lot of the covers that were coming in early, because you could see other people's submissions, but a lot of the covers that were coming in early were AI generated, and it creates these beautiful finalized pieces of art in minutes. It was really frustrating for me seeing these people. Some people submit half a dozen, submissions to this contest, and all of them were AI generated. It's difficult for artists to compete, to create in an environment where things can be created instantaneously. It's like, you can get fast food and you can get the burger delivered to you out the window in a minute. Or do you go to a restaurant and wait 40 minutes for your Wagyu steak, In some ways, I believe it gives customers, especially who might not be experienced with AI, unrealistic expectations of turnaround for artists, and also unrealistic expectations of artistic process. Because if the AI artist is showing all of these finalized images that they're making slight tweaks and stuff like that too, it's all these sort of finalized things. If the client is working with another artist that is working in a more reasonable manner, where they're showing process as it's going, it makes the client think that it's not complete, when it's really just that you're allowing the client more input in the earlier stages of the artwork. But the other thing about it was that a lot of these images that were generated were nothing like what the client was looking for. A lot of them were missing certain details. Like the client said that, there was an android in the story, and he said that the android looked mostly like a man, except he had glowing blue eyes. And in some of these generations, people were not listening to that at all. In some, he had cybernetic parts. In some, he was an actual robot, None of them had the glowing blue eyes that he had mentioned. And he said, he wanted this guy to be carrying the girl character in his arms. And nobody was able to submit that. There were a few people, but they actually used stock images, not AI generation. Because it's very difficult for AI to do that. Because it's quite a complicated pose, and so things tend to overlap and get confused and that kind of thing. So this consumer is being given a product where they set out specific specifications that they wanted, and what they're getting back isn't that in return. As nice as it is for clients, for people who are not artists to be able to get art for a cheap or free price, honestly, it's like fast food, essentially. I can understand the need, I can understand the desire, but is it really a good nutritious meal? Is it really customized to your specifications? Is it really what you want? Is it really what you need? Like a lot of other artists, I am concerned about my future and my career when AI is involved, and it is a little bit concerning to hear what other jobs, what other careers could be completely wiped out by artificial intelligence, by chat AI. Copywriters could be a thing of the past. Legal is getting, sort of slapped a little bit right now by ChatGPT. My feelings about AI get a little bit conflicted, because at a certain point I do agree that AI is very helpful and very useful, but at the same time, we don't currently have an infrastructure in place to use AI to its fullest potential without causing a lot of harm, right? It's like the example of putting machines in factories, all of the factory workers lose their jobs. Self-driving cars, all of the truck drivers lose their jobs. And so if you keep advancing technology without a safety net in place for those people that are going to lose their jobs, then it becomes an issue. And I don't believe that AI can ever fully replace artists. I just don't think it can, because art is a lot about your emotion. The issue is it could somewhat replace designers. It's never going to replace a gallery artist, but it could replace a graphic designer. It could replace a packaging designer. It could replace publication design. It could replace all of those. And that is a little nerve-wracking, because there can only be so many gallery artists in the world. So my resistance to AI is also partially a bit of fear, obviously. I'm a new artist starting a new business, going into the world trying to make money. And of course I'm going to worry about whether or not this is going to affect me and my livelihood and my passion and my job. But I do believe there are ways that AI can be used to supplement artists. I thought it was really helpful to have somebody to just seek inspiration from. To me, it's like when I use a color palette generator or when I go on Pinterest. It's not that this is replacing my creativity. It's just getting my brain going a little bit. It's getting me thinking. It's getting me working. And I still drew the art from my own hands, obviously. I think that people are excited about AI art right now, and they should be. They absolutely should be. But I also think that it's important to, firstly, not be derisive of artists because of it. I think that people who speak about AI art and speak to artists and say, oh, your job is going to be replaced now, or, oh, I could get it from AI art a lot cheaper. I think that that's disrespectful, and that if you're somebody that does that, you should stop. I also think that it's rude to suggest for an artist to use AI art. They know about it. If they're not using it, it's because they don't want to use it. I think that people should just be aware of the limitations of AI art, of how it works, and of how receiving art from a physical artist, a real artist, is going to be different. It's going to take longer. It's going to look less complete until the end, but it's going to be perfectly towards your specifications, and that's important. I think that I might use ChatGPT again. I liked it. I thought it was very fast, it was very communicative, it was very responsive to prompts, and it did actually give me a really good idea. I had never heard of Victorian Botanical illustrations before, the vintage botanical illustrations, but I really like them. I could definitely see myself doing a bunch of these. Speaking of, if you like this illustration and you would like to buy a print, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be putting it up in my shop. It's probably not going to be up at the time of this video going up. I'll leave a link to my shop anyway, but I want to make sure that I source a good distributor first. So those will probably be going on my shop sometime soon. But I do actually plan on making this into a series. I really love how this turned out, and it's exactly the sort of aesthetic that I was looking for. I think in my next one, I might try and add some like subtle, spooky elements. I don't know, I'll think about it. You guys will have to tell me whether you prefer them just sort of plain, or if you think it would be fun to add something sort of spooky. Leave a comment and let me know. But with that, just final thoughts on AI. It's a useful tool, but I think that people should be cautious about replacing artists, because if you're not cautious, you're going to look back and you're going to realize that it's not doing what you need it to do. It's not being fed new art, new information, because all of the artists have died out, not physically died out, but had to quit their passions to do something else, and the AI isn't being fed and blah, blah, blah. I think people just need to be cautious of the fact that AI should not replace art, because a lot of what art is about emotion. And so if you like somebody's artwork, pay them, buy their artwork. If you get some inspiration, some references from AI art to give to an artist to do commissions, that's excellent. If you speak with a chat AI and it gives you an idea, that's wonderful. I think that AI just needs to be used in a way that's responsible and ethical, and that's pretty much my last say on the matter. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave me a like, and if you'd like to hear more from me, hit that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Saturday. Follow me on all my social media to keep up with what I'm working on and get special sneak peeks of what I'm working on next. I am After Plague on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch, and I am after_plague on Twitter. Thank you again so much for watching, and I hope you survive this post-plague world.